Not for a We're on?
Yep.
Okay, no countdown. Do you notice that?
You were talking.
There's
Zero
zero
countdown. To
countdown.
count you down.
Nothing. It's just
Hello and welcome to another episode of Grange TV. We have with us Mr. David Roberts, once again, fucking up the count. Mr. Robert Whittaker, you've said middleweight champion. And we have with us Instagram model, jiu-jitsu coach, Alex Prates. Welcome, Alex. Alex is the head grappling coach for the Gracie programs here in Australia, and also Robert Whittaker's head grappling coach. In a little bit, we will be opening up the forum to questions about Rob and Alex's background and grappling.
thanks for coming, Coach.
Thank you, mate.
Appreciate
My pleasure. Pleasure to be here.
I guess, Alex, you want to tell us a little bit about your story? So I think you started grappling in Brazil. And did you begin with Brazilian top team?
Yeah, with Mario Sper. He has not Brazilian top team, but with Mario and Walter Matos, so kind of, like a Brazilian top team branch, sort of saying.
Was that pre-Brazilian top team?
That was pre-Brazilian top team, yeah. There was Carson Gracie back there. Mario used to still train with Carson, so it was Carson Gracie's team.
Were you there when Brazilian top team was formed?
Yes. Not there, like on the spot, but I was Mario's student when all that happened, yes.
So how did it happen? You guys were training with Mario, and you guys were under Carson Gracie?
No. In fact, we have a gym called South Jiu-Jitsu, Sul Jiu-Jitsu, in a Portuguese word. But even the logo was the same, like the bulldog of Carson Gracie's team. And I don't know exactly. It's not something that I know much to comment about how they end up splitting with Carson and that. But like that, everybody knows the history.
No. Well, what happened? That's why. Otherwise, we would have just told him.
No, as I said, I don't know details about it. I think it was something related with percentage or things like that. So
but
I really
happened?
don't know details.
So but not the financial details. So what happened? Like they split.
They split and they formed the Brazilian top team. That's what happened. Like so 3 or 4 core guys from the Carson Gracie team end up splitting and starting the Brazilian top team, which is Libório, Mario Sperry, Murilo Bustamante, and Bebel Duarte.
I think I remember when we had the podcast previously where it was mentioned that like it was always away. He was always away, and the guys were all training together. Like Libório and all those were always training together, like by themselves, and that was kind of what drove.
No, that's what Libório was saying.
Yeah.
And so were you there? Libório was there as well when you were there?
Yeah, but in another city. Libório and Castro was based in Rio. I was from South, so Mario went to South to open a gym. That's how I ended up training with him.
Okay, and so were you ever in the room during the Pride days when Murilo was fighting and all this?
Not really. Like we had Vitor Belfort coming to train with us for a few days. Like a lot of our guys used to go to Rio and train with the guys. Like I have been in training sessions with the Nogueira brothers, with Toquinho, with all those guys. But it was pretty far. Rio and my city is about 1,600 So, but we always have that relationship. It was the same team.
What was it like coming up under Mario Sperry and guys like that? You're close with Murilo as well, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I would say more now. I'm closer with Murilo than I was back there. But I guess the MMA side, like Mario always teach me jiu-jitsu. Don't know if I can say focus in MMA, but he was an MMA guy, back there. So the way he teaches jiu-jitsu was very like MMA orientated, so I think that's something that stayed with me.
Does that come from Carson?
I think that come from Carson, come with what he was doing back there, which was fighting MMA. Like they start fighting MMA, they had a good MMA team, so it was always, I think few things I learned from him from the beginning, like helped me a lot to coach and end up being an MMA coach now. I think I actually was talking to you about changing the subject a bit, the fighting on the weekends. That I saw that young Brazilian there, and I saw
The middleweight fight.
The middleweight fight. Yeah, what's his name again?
Wellington, and I can't remember the surname.
Yeah, Wellington, and I see that happen a lot in grapplers that like, especially jiu-jitsu guys that translate to that they start fighting MMA, that they over grapple. You know, and I remember Mario always telling me that position is striking. Don't think about submissions. You know, submissions will come, and that's something that stick with me, that I try to pass to the guys I train. And of course there is exceptions, like we spoke about as well, Ryan Hall. You know, like there's always exception. The guys can go down and grapple straight away and gonna, you know, but
That guy's a freak, bud.
yeah. But I think that Wellington, he would maybe possibly change the result of the fight if he was thinking like, you know, Marius Perry way of position striking, instead of, because he put the guy down two or three times and went straight to submissions, ended up losing the submission, ended up on the bottom. And you know, like as you guys know, they're all tough, athletic guys in MMA. So I think if you go with that mentality, I'm gonna put you down, I'm gonna hit you, like it's pretty simple, and a lot of times work open up the way for submissions, for, you know, transitions as well. So I think,
well, it's much easier to get a submission on a guy who's been hurt.
yeah,
Like it is. Like I think when I was younger, I got a lot of submissions in my earlier days, and that was only because I had such a control of it standing, I believe. You know.
yeah, but also it's easier to like find position and strike on the ground than go straight for submission, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially if another guy is athletic guy, like a tough guy, which usually is the like that you get when you fight MMA, especially on the top level.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna tap for a half.
And generally speaking, if you're looking at the fight like that, like you know, position striking, you're generally on top, and top looks like it's winning. And most of the time it is, but top look in the eyes of the judges and the eyes of everybody else. If you're on top, you look like you're winning. You know, that plays a big factor in a lot of the fights that end up on the ground or end up in close decisions.
Alex, you were some of your mentors that you have now, as you know, mentors that you have for jiu-jitsu, for combat, that have been around for a long time. Who are some of those guys?
I think we all like have those guys, you know, like have we all learn from not just myself, but all of us. We're very lucky. We have hopefully I will not forget anyone. We have Sergio Pena coming here, staying with us. We had Marius Perry, my first coach. We had Rolly Gracie. We had Murilo Bustamante. We had Ricardo Liborio. You know, so I don't think I'm forgetting anyone. Like they're all big experienced, big names in jiu-jitsu, very experienced in the MMA well. Field, in the combat. Yeah, so you know, I remember when Liborio was here and there was Lucas was here. Lucas is a very good black belt, Lucas Sachs, and after the session, I said, man, you know, like it's completely different, which it is. You know, like jiu-jitsu is one thing. When you put jiu-jitsu in combat, it's not a completely different thing, but change. You know, like when the basics change a little bit. I guess the order of the things change a little bit.
Can you explain for someone that doesn't know, what's it like, and you as well, Rob, what's it like, because I don't think people fully get it. What's it like when you have someone like a Sergio Pena or Ricardo Liborio, Boiler Gracie, Marius Perry, any of those guys, when they're showing something, that what's the difference like between a good black belt and Ricardo Liborio when they're showing stuff?
I guess like, it's just night and day. It's funny because when you're learning from these guys that have been teaching for this long and they understand the techniques so well that they could do it pretty much in their sleep, their method of teaching is generally refined, if you know what I mean. Like their method of teaching is such a way that picking it up is much easier.
Yeah,
like,
they don't just know the technique, but they know how to teach it.
Yeah, they understand that gap of like teaching and learning, and it just makes picking up techniques like 10 times easier. But also, like I notice a huge thing with all these masters coming in and all these like really high level jiu-jitsu coaches, is that it's little details that they've picked up over the years that make the biggest difference in the entire technique, in the entire game. You know, it's just little things that aren't a part of like the original technique, but it's something they've done and they've done for years and tested and tried and worked out, okay, if I do it like this, it's better. And like people who haven't been grappling their entire lives have no right to start fiddling with stuff like that, really. But these guys have done it. They've tried and tested these little changes to make techniques and positions stronger, better, heavier. You know, and that's just like, that's my opinion.
And so you're a third dan black belt.
Yeah.
What's the difference with something basic, like when, from your perspective, when Sergio Pena, for instance, is showing, well, it doesn't have to be any of those guys, but is showing something as simple as side control. What's the difference between a Sergio Pena side control and a good black belt side control?
I guess it's like Rob says, the basics, and I guess a lot has to do with, takes a lot of experience to understand that some basics are very, very important. And I seen a lot of young coaches, and I was one of those who did this mistake a lot, was try to show overdo it, show a technique that, you know, is sometimes plastic or submission and kind of neglect the basics. And I guess and I feel that's a big thing those guys bring as well. It is they know exactly what you need to know, and sometimes it's not flash. You know, it's just have a sharp, good basics.
Do they feel different when they're on top?
Sergio feels different, but you know, Sergio's.
Can you explain that?
Sergio's a freak.
Feels like a tongue.
Yeah. Can you explain what that's like?
Right, the Sergio side control. Look, I like to think, you know, like I'm not a wussy, you know, and I thought about that when Sergio control was in my side control, but I made the decision. I'm going to sleep here, but I'm not tapping.
But
it's uncomfortable, man.
So can you explain what's happening there?
It's just the way he uses his body weight. You know, he's a big dude as well, no doubt. But it's just the tails, the way he used and he explained to us, you know, the small details, you know, like push from the fingers and this and that. But mate, like he put like this. I've been making people tap on from side control since I learned the techniques from Sergio, and we all do it like easy. Rob, they do it. So it's just 30 years of.
But also, like, a huge difference is that, like, when I'm trying to do it, I'm consciously having to focus on, and I'm getting tired trying to do it because
when you say trying to do what?
Trying to do the side control Sergio teaches. I'm conscious.